It's one of the most iconic moments in the history of golf. The locale, the 18th hole on the stadium course at the Players' Championship. The opponent had won 10 of his previous 16 starts. The golf world was looking for someone who could tame a tiger.
Be the right club.
And with a 6-iron from 179, the moment was born.
Be the right club.
Welcome to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters.
Be the right club today.
Now, here are your hosts, Mark Greenhalgh and Todd Burrell.
Welcome back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters. Mark Greenhalgh and Todd Burrell this week. Todd, poor Hal had to get a root canal done, so you're back in the saddle.
Oh, I've been there, had a couple root canals, not fun. All the best to Hal.
I played 14 holes last week. That's all I was able to get in. Had some things come up and had to bolt from the course after 14 holes. Wasn't hitting it that bad. Hit a few bad shots. Had a double and a triple though. So never good when you 4-putt a hole, by the way. But that was while the chaos had started with what was going on outside the golf course, so it was definitely a distraction and warranted, so not so worried about it. But other than that, I hit it pretty. And the best part about it is the old shoulder's hanging in there, Todd.
She's hanging in there. You must have left your Makefield putter at home.
I was using the Makefield putter, but it was one of those deals where I was expecting information and on a surgery for a family member. And in the middle of my backswing on the second shot, I got that notification, and it kind of screwed me up, and I didn't pay attention for the rest of the hole, so I was kind of hockeying it around a little bit. So not all that bad, but hit some good shots. I was very happy with the game for first time to play 18 holes of the year. Still didn't accomplish my feat, and actually only got to hit 8 warm-up shots, so that never helps either.
I don't even hit warm-up shots anymore.
Well, I only hit a couple. Like I hit 6 or 7 8-irons is all I hit. But you know, when you're rushed, it never works out. So one of these days, I'm going to have a proper warm up and a proper timing, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, come down here. You need to check us out.
I'm working on that. I'm working on it. So anyway, we had a little U.S. Open, where I guess you would say the villain won at the U.S. Open, according to the fans at Shinnecock. What do you think?
Yeah, the villain impressed me. I mean, I've never been a big fan of the villain, but he gained some respect this week. I mean, he heard it rounds 1 through 4, and I'm sure he heard it in the practice rounds too, and rightfully so, but man, he got it done.
I've heard a lot of people, I've heard comments about people saying that Wyndham Clark got raked over the coals by the fans in New York, and after what happened at Bethpage, do we really want to host another big event in New York? And I call let's hold the bus back on that one a little bit. That's a little much. I mean, yeah, Bethpage was over the top, but we've done that a lot in Ryder Cups lately, no matter what side of the pond we're on. I don't know and I don't really think I heard a lot of, you know, over the top stuff. I heard some rooting against him. I heard some cheering when he made bogeys. You know, that kind of happens when you also have a big lead and people want to see drama. So, I think we need to pump the brakes on that one a little bit.
I don't disagree. If you watched the Canadian Open where he contended the week prior as well, they were giving it to him just as bad on the 18th hole. I mean, when he was over his wedge shot, hitting into 18 over water, where guys continually rinsed it one after the other. I mean, he had to step off. Like, he heard it up there too. And Canadians are supposed to be the nicest people on the planet. So, I look, Long Island has such good venues. Shinnecock being obviously one of the meccas of the USGA. I'm with you. I mean, that's an overreaction. Long Island's a great spot, great sporting fans. They know sports well. Yeah, golf in general is getting a little bit crazy with the heckling and stuff. I think that's a broader situation, I wouldn't limit it to Long Island. Remember Brookline years ago with Sergio? I mean, that was pretty intense too, and we're talking, man, a decade and a half ago.
Bethpage, yeah.
Bethpage was rough as well. But remember the re-gripping stuff?
Oh yeah.
Remember that? So, it's been going on for a while, like you said, and I think that's kind of the way things are trending. And I've heard some really, really interesting suggestions this week. We can get into that. That'll curb some of that stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't even consider taking Long Island out of the mix.
No, and you and I are nice guys until we play each other on the ice. So
right.
I mean,
That's
it
right.
all depends. It's all situational based, right?
That's right.
And I mean, I saw some people basically getting their credentials taken away and escorted out. And again, I mean, we as the PGA Tour have encouraged bad behavior because you just look at the waste management in the 16th hole. I mean, when guys are chipping in or making huge putts and you get the whole beer shower thing that's going on, they haven't put a stop to that. So you're encouraging bad behavior on the golf course from the fans if you're the PGA Tour. So it's no different than you get anywhere else. It's just a different situation.
I think it's an interesting take on it is if you remove the cell phone, as you do at Augusta, if you remove the cell phone, lots of things change because the casual fan who's just buying a ticket to document whatever idiocy he's going to do or she's going to do during the event, a lot of that goes away if you don't have a recording device or some way to live stream or whatever. You've been to Augusta. I've been to Augusta. It's a different feel when you're on that property. Golf course aside, history aside, when you take cell phones away and people are just there and all they can do is talk to each other and watch golf, it's a very different feel. And I think it might be time for the majors to get together collectively and discuss the possibility of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, people don't have cell phones. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about ringers. If you get caught, you get ejected and you're pretty much not getting back in there ever again. Even from a media perspective, I mean, the media is allowed to bring their phones in, but they cannot leave the media center with a cell phone. So it is a different animal. It's a different environment. And I'm not upset if the four majors and even the players go that route.
Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I forget where I heard that take, but it's something I've thought about just because when I'm on the property at Augusta, it's unique. I mean, it's everybody's engaged with each other or into the golf. And there's no shenanigans based on how many clicks you can get for a certain post you did because you were, filming yourself doing something. It takes the influencers, if you will, out of it. I just think it's a great idea for the real top tier events.
So speaking of the USGA, how happy were you with Shinnecock? Because I'm going to start it off by saying I wasn't real happy at all. I feel like this is the third U.S. Open in a row at Shinnecock that they have not really let the golf course play the way the golf course is supposed to play. And I'm specifically talking about Thursday. When you have guys going out first thing Thursday morning that are hitting shots into the first hole that are spinning off the green, and they are shocked because the way that the golf course is played Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, meaning that they did some serious watering Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. I have a huge problem with that. And what happened to me was it showed how they had manipulated the golf course because when the wind died in the afternoon, guys like Wyndham Clark absolutely lit that place up because it was soft and slow.
Yeah, I mean, part of golf, especially major championship golf, is what side of the draw you're on. You hate to see soft greens in the first round of an event like that, but as we talked about on the last podcast, they let it get away from them 2 out of the last 3 times really bad, and it was embarrassing, and I'm sure that the membership was like, that can't happen, and they overcorrected, no question about it, but I felt like as the week went on, they got it dialed in pretty good, and I can see your gripe, and I can understand that early in the week, but I feel like as the week went on and the wind really picked up, The greens got, they got firm and fast as the tournament went on, but they didn't lose them, which was nice to see. The one thing I would pick apart about the setup, more so than the greens, I didn't like 48-yard wide fairways. I didn't like that. We talked about, the history of the U.S. Open and kind of the way that it has been in the past. And I know they're not really doing things that way anymore, but I still would have liked to see a little more premium put on the tee shots and placement off the tee and made guys think about just pumping driver out there. Wyndham got in some trouble wayward. He wasn't hitting the ball really well the last 2 rounds at all. He missed a ton of greens. He missed some fairways big, but he was able to advance it. I mean, you look at 16 in the last round. Bones didn't think he could hit that more than 50 yards out of there,
right.
and he covers a bunker that's 160, 150, 160 out there, and then turns a probable par or 6 into a 4, and that ultimately wins the golf tournament for him.
Yeah, I don't know what Bones was looking at there. That was an oddity to me, is that, Bones tells us that he's going to be lucky to advance at 50 yards, and he hits about a 180-yard shot. I mean, that's I don't know where the disconnect was on that. Almost seems like that somebody else got out there and picked it up and moved it or something like that after Bones had a chance to look at it. But I'm with you. I mean, again, I feel like my thing about a setup for U.S. Open is let's set it up the way that we need to set it up, and then we as fans understand that we're going to set it up this way, and if the weather goes an extreme one way or the other, we get that. Like, I mean, I get frustrated with them constantly trying to manipulate the golf course and, keeping the greens slow and I still think they saturated that golf course Wednesday night. I mean, just the reaction from some players. I was watching the Koepka group, and you're talking about a guy that won it, the last time we were there when it did get away from a little bit and they overcorrected again on Sunday. And it was almost like that golf course was softer than the overcorrection in the final round where Tommy Fleetwood shot 67. So, I don't understand where their mindset is sometimes when they do these things. Just set it up, and if it gets dry, it gets dry. If it gets wet, it gets wet. But let's just play it. Let's just set the standard and roll from there. The constant manipulation just frustrates me. I still go back, Todd, to Augusta. I feel like Augusta did the same thing over the weekend because we felt like that golf course at Augusta National was going to play like a parking lot on Saturday and Sunday, and it didn't either day. So I think for me, 2 of the 3 majors so far this year have done a lot of manipulating of conditions and golf course, and I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in Augusta's case this year, it was so hard out there that they had to do something. And like I said, they never publicly said this, but the fairways were mowed longer this year, and they watered the heck out of them just to keep the balls in the fairways, because if they got to the rough lines, they were gone. They were gone. I mean, if they're on a downslope, there's nothing to stop them. They could just keep going forever. So I can see your point, but you also don't want a golf tournament to get away from you like they've had. They've probably got the PTSD from the last 2 getting away from them, and they're like, we just can't let that happen again. So I understand it, and typically when something gets away from you like that, what are you going to do? You're going to overreact the other way, which they did. And but like I said, as the week played out, I think it was okay. I will say this. I mean, yes, there were soft greens and no wind in the early rounds in the afternoons, but Clark was really the only guy who was able to separate. I mean, there were other players on that side of the draw, good players that had an opportunity to separate as well. And, he built that lead and then really just scrambled the last 36 holes to hang on to it and ultimately got it done. But he won that golf tournament by separating the first 36 holes.
He pulled a Bryson DeChambeau at Pinehurst. He got out in front, and then he got away with some. He made some bogeys. He limited the mistakes. He limited the damage, let's say. Made a lot of mistakes, hit a lot of bad tee shot, got some good breaks, got some lies that he could play out of. Don't really think he got into any place where he couldn't. And that's kind of what I remember from Bryson at Pinehurst. I mean, he hit a lot of bad tee shots at Pinehurst. and got away with a lot of them. And sometimes it takes that luck. I mean, I still go back to when Mickelson won the Open Championship. Lee Westwood had every opportunity to do that. He hit a couple bad tee shots that ended up in some absolutely horrendous places, and it cost him. Sam Burns last year at Oakmont, the water in the fairway, not getting the relief from that, I think that cost him. I mean, it's an unfortunate break sometimes, and I'm kind of torn on that. It takes luck, a little bit of luck to win a majors. I just feel like we've had some champions lately that have had a lot of luck, and I'm not a fan of it. I want to see good shots and not luck.
The draw definitely is a factor. You remember that year at Bethpage when it was just pouring rain on the front side of the draw, and no manipulation of that golf course, but the draw was such that if you were on the wrong end of it, I mean, you were toast. 4, 5, 6 plus shots worse than everybody else on the other side of the draw, just because the conditions were so bad and so difficult to play through. So I see what you're saying. I don't like a ton of manipulation either, but they couldn't get it wrong the other way this year. They just couldn't afford to.
So I mentioned Sam Burns. I was pulling for Sam Burns. We had Sam Burns trying to almost get the justice from the bad ruling last year, the karma, if you will. And we also had Scotty Scheffler on the leaderboard playing in that last group, trying to do the career Grand Slam. And man, it felt like that starting the day out, that this was almost the opportunity for Scotty Scheffler to do what he's been doing when he's started poorly, but he's finished strong. And we didn't get this that time. Were you a little shocked at that?
Not really. I feel like things are a little off with Scotty this year. I don't, he's just not that top tier Scotty. I mean, he's still obviously unbelievably good. And even with his B or C game, he can be in the mix. And he made a valiant charge at the end there. I just feel like Scotty's a little off. He's got his one win earlier in the year. He's going to be relevant in the rest of the big events for this year. I don't know if he's going to win any of them. I think, he's putted okay. That's probably a big part of it. The fire's still there. He's still locked in. He's still trying his butt off out there, and he's still relevant, and he's still in the mix. But that sharp, he said it. I mean, in his presser, he's like, that sharpness is just not there. That extra bit of precision he needs with the ball striking, because let's face it, when he was winning all those golf tournaments, he never putted great. I mean, if he putted great, he distanced himself from the field. Oh, yeah. But if he putted average, he was middle of the field putting, he struck it so much better than everybody else. And he gained so many strokes, into the greens and off the tees, that it didn't really matter. But he's not that precise right now. And as you know, a shot here, a shot there, that's the difference. So I think that's the only difference with Scotty. I mean, if he really gets the putter going, he's probably going to win a bunch. If he strikes it a little bit better and he's a little more precise, he's right there, right? Like, he's still a top 5. He still has a ton of top 10s and 20s. Like, he's there every single week he plays.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like he's able to put 4 rounds together right now, and that's the problem. I mean, if he can ever get, and it's that one round, and that one round, I guess that's maybe where Tiger separated himself, right? Everybody, Scotty could be the next Tiger. Well, I think that's where you find the difference. Tiger didn't shoot those 74, 75s. Somehow he managed to still scrape out a 70 or a 71 and get under par in those rounds. And I think that's where you see the difference for me, is that, Scotty, he had that horrible first round, and then he turned it around. And, again, I felt like that it was his. I really felt like it was his. And then I felt like it was Sam Burns. I felt like Sam Burns was making the run. He made that one mistake on the back 9 that probably cost him, making the one bogey and giving Wyndham Clark a little bit more breathing room. Did you feel like that if Sam could have gotten even with Wyndham, it's one of those things like when you watch a college basketball game or a football game and that team's coming from behind, the moment they get it tied, you feel like it's over?
Not really. I picked Burns. I mean, I'm documented. I'm on the last podcast saying Burns was my pick. So I was rooting for him. I wanted him to do that. But The difference here is Burns is a great putter, right? Wyndham Clark was putting really well, and he has been putting well for weeks. He's been putting well actually this season, but I didn't feel like there was an advantage there. I didn't feel like there was really a huge advantage in any aspect of his game that if he did get up to Clark. And plus Clark has the experience winning a major before, like he was getting heckled all week and he was hanging in there. I just kind of felt like he was really going to have to give it to Burns more so than Burns was going to be able to come and get it from him. Even with the lead shrinking the way it did, I still felt like Wyndham, I never felt like he was going to lose the golf tournament.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Shinnecock is back on the rotation in 2036, Todd.
Wow.
2036. We go to Pinehurst 2 times before that. Next year at Pebble Beach. And Pebble Beach is a wild card when it comes to U.S. Opens because it's really weather-based. The golf course is what it is. They can't do a whole lot of lengthening of Pebble Beach. The weather dictates the rough a lot of times, and the wind is going to play the factor. I mean, we've seen guys go low. We've seen it play very firm and fast. We've seen wind. When Tom Kite won, it was almost unplayable back in the day. So it is definitely a box of chocolates when we go back to Pebble Beach. And then we got Wingfoot in 28. We got Pinehurst in 29 and Marion in 30. And then to Riviera in 31. So interesting little set of golf courses coming up for the U.S. Open.
Pebble is going to be awesome. And like you mentioned, like Pebble's not long. And, the weather's kind of the only defense of Pebble, really. So it'll be interesting to see how they set that up. There's a guy once upon a time who won by 15 there. He might be healthy next year and possibly want to tee it up. I don't know. We'll see. But length won't be an issue for him there because it's not a super long golf course.
Well, speaking of Tiger, we're going to get to why Tiger actually showed up yet again at the Travelers, but has never played the golf course. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. I want to remind everybody about Makefield putters. They are made in the USA. Go out to makefieldgolf.com. Check them out. The radial cusp technology helps you get an equator strike, 3-weight system, all the personalization, everything that you can do to that putter, but ultimately it is the reduced skid effect that helps you make more putts more often. Todd, I know you're fitting the heck out of people down there at Carolina Lakes.
Yeah, they are. They're flying off the shelves. We sold quite a few. Sold another one today, so pretty excited about getting them in people's hands and seeing their reactions.
Yeah, when I come down there and play, we're going to get me fitted for the blade, and we're just going to send my specs to Makefield and say, hook a brother up.
Hey, hook him up.
Also, want to let everybody know about Peak Vision. See like you've never seen before with Peak Vision sunglasses. The difference is immediate. Get ready for the season and use the code GS15 at peakvision.com. Also, make sure that you're going out to BeTheRightClubToday.com, checking out all of the different podcasts that we have out there, and going to the shop and buying your favorite merchandise with the logo. You can either get the logo of just Hal or just the Be The Right Club Today. You can put it on the chest. You can put it on the sleeve. I think I put it on the sleeve of the shirt and on the chest of the hoodie, Todd. So mixed it up a little bit for you.
Good call. Yeah, they got good stuff on there for sure.
You hit at least 18 putts around, more like low 30s. So you better make sure you got the right putter in your hand. And I don't think people have spent enough time trying to make sure they have that. Hi, I'm Hal Sutton. 25 years ago, I had the right club at the right moment, and it made a huge difference. Today, I've teamed up with Makefield Putters. I now use the right putter today. You see, Makefield has unique radial cusp technology. The ball releases faster off the face and keeps the ball rolling more on its axis. The result is a straighter putt, more on target. When you get everything just right, the putter that fits you just right, the one that you believe in, your confidence should be oozing out of you So I would encourage all consumers, go to the Makeville website and educate yourself and get fitted correctly, get the right putter in your hand, and there's hope for better putting ahead.
Golf is challenging enough. Between the sandbagging bandits, the wind, rain, and your homemade swing, it sometimes feels impossible. You need a legal 15th club. You need Peak Vision sunglasses. 4 to 5 hours of protection against glare and ultraviolet light with clarity as clear as crown glass. That's Peak Vision sunglasses, your secret 15th club, giving you one less obstacle to overcome. Just one try is all it takes, and the price is less than national brands. Use the code GS15 at peakvision.com. Welcome back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast. Time for segment number 2. And before we took the quick break, I mentioned Tiger showing up at the Travelers. It's the first time we've seen him since his car was on its side. And he was there because, yet again, we have a little talk about the schedule for 2028, Todd. And we seem to have a lot more detail of what we've had in the past. What do you think, just as a 50,000-foot view?
I like it. I know there was a lot of rumors about what they were talking about doing. We've discussed it ad nauseum on here and kind of speculated as to what was going to happen, but I like a lot of what they're doing. I like the relegation process. I like the 2 tiers. I like the match play in the playoff format. I like the fact that the Tour Championship venue is going to move around. I heard Pine Valley thrown out there. I mean, there's a lot of things to get excited about as a fan. And that's ultimately what I've been screaming about pretty much all year when we discuss this topic, is where's the fan in all this? And it looks like they've addressed that.
Yeah, so you're going to have your championship series and your challenger series and $20 million purses. The challenger series is going to have at least 20 events with purses of at least $4 million. And, obviously that's a $16 million gap, Todd, and it's designed to be that way. I mean, I remember years ago, Rory McIlroy snapped at somebody and said, hey, if you want to be involved in these big boy events, then play better. And I think that's what you're going to get to see. And I think from a fan's perspective, Todd, we have complained. I haven't necessarily complained, but a lot of people complain about sponsor exemptions. One of the things I did hear is there's no more sponsor exemptions. There is a set number of guys, and we're hearing that 90 guys will get through. If you're not in the top 90, you face relegation. You're going to end up in a challenger series. Now, there's some ways that you can earn your way, because there's going to be 120 player fields in these championship series events. So obviously guys can earn their way on, whether it's for one event, whether it's for the season. Sounds like that some of the fall events may play a factor in this. So let's just say that the 2027 FedEx Cup points, or whatever point system that they're going to pick up on, the top 90 are going to be eligible for 2028. There's going to be a fall series probably in 2027 that are going to fill another, let's just say, 20 spots. So now you've got 110 guys. So now there's 10 spots available. Maybe on a weekly basis, there's 10 guys that get in there. So there's still some things to be figured out. But the idea is that, we're going to have 15 or so events plus the majors and the Players Championship, and we're going to be up around 20 to 24 events where these guys are all going to want to play together. Will it still happen? That remains to be seen. Depends on how the schedule plays out. But it did sound like, Todd, that a lot of the Challenger Series events are going to play simultaneously. Some will play by themselves. I would prefer they probably play more by themselves. That's just me. I think from a media perspective, it's going to be hard to, a TV perspective, hard to cover both events. And, like here in Charlotte, you get the Truist, and then you also have the Myrtle Beach event going on simultaneously. So it's a toss-up. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I'm with you. On the surface, it looks like a good deal from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of looking at NASCAR's model a little bit. We've mentioned that before as well. Like, NASCAR's got obviously the top tier series, and then they've got series underneath, right, with the trucks and what's the series underneath the top?
O'Reilly series now, yeah.
Okay, so it's O'Reilly now. So, and they, they a lot of the time are going at the same venue or simultaneously on different nights or the same weekend, but the same venue. So I don't know how they're going to work that out. Obviously you can't have them going at the same venue, but maybe I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, if you're playing opposite the top tier, what's the viewership going to be like for the challenger tier? Is the fan really going to be interested in that? I mean, you just look at the Corn Ferry and, they don't really get much in terms of interest outside of their tour championship and kind of their playoff events. So I don't know how they're going to attract sponsors to take on those events as title sponsors. That's not my problem. The thing I'm happy about is that the best players will be playing in the top tier series. And I'm most excited about, like I mentioned earlier, when we get down to the playoffs, we're going to get into some match play. And that can get interesting.
Yeah, so the Tour Championship will become a 2-week playoff, starting with a group stage that moves into a bracket to determine the champion. That kind of sounds like my idea, does it not? Where I was telling you that guys had to go out and qualify, and then they get stacked up into the bracket. So they've just turned it into a 2-week thing, where you're going to get to see, is it the top 32 guys all play to seed themselves out, and then it becomes a bracket to determine the championship. And I'm fine with that. And it sounds like that you had Adam Scott, Keith Mitchell, Kashmir Keith, that really drove for match play. And again, I think the concern from the tour has always been, that, we could lose a Scotty Scheffler and a Rory McIlroy in the first match, right? I mean, sure you could.
You could also lose a top tier seed. Doesn't happen or hasn't happened, but you could also lose a top tier seed in March Madness too.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some 1s and 2s get knocked out recently in the last few years.
That's part of the allure to those types of events.
Yeah, and what are the odds that Rory, that your top, let's just say your top 6 guys in the FedEx Cup or whatever point system they're going to call it, that all get knocked out in the first round? The odds are probably low. But then again, if you're seeding these guys based on the previous week's maybe 72-hole event, then, maybe Scotty isn't number 1. Maybe a Tom Kim plays well the week before and he's the number 1 seed, and Scotty's an 8 and Rory's a 16. You don't know what you're going to get. So, there's a possibility that things get shaken up a little bit, and it can go completely the other way where technically your top seeds could go down, but they could go down to the top players. So I think, when you start looking at drama and you start looking at crowning a true FedEx Cup champion, I mean, who would have thought Tommy Fleetwood wins it last year? Nobody. You've had Bill Haas sneak in there and win it one time. You've had some guys that have snuck in there, and to me, it's been a great story. So I have no problem with it being a 32-man match play, winner take all. To me, that creates drama on the weekend. Even if it's 2 guys that aren't used to being there, it creates drama because we may see 2 guys leaking oil on the back 9 and nobody wants to win it, and it makes it more fun to watch.
Yeah, here's why I like the match play aspect of it. Yes, you can lose a top tier player in a match when one guy gets hot, but the chances of that guy staying hot for his remaining matches and winning the entire tournament is not good. Plus, the one big hole in a match doesn't take you out of it. Right. The one big hole doesn't take you out of it. You can bounce back. You can make whatever number you want. It's one hole you lose and you move on, and you can get over that quicker and focus on winning the next hole. Match play is a completely different mindset, as you know from playing the game for a long time. It's the purest form of golf, as they say. So I like that. I think that's going to be really fun to watch. The other aspect of it is the wagering. I mean, you can fill out a bracket now for the PGA Tour playoffs, which is pretty cool. So I'm sure they're going to do stuff around that as well. I'm sure all the major betting sites are going to be involved in it. Obviously, you can bet on PGA Tour head-to-head stuff already, but it's not in a tournament sense. Now you're going to be able to bet just like you would with the NCAA tournament, March Madness, etc., I think it's going to draw some eyes. It'll be exciting.
The only drawback that I see is that you may not get the story week in and week out. If you remember last year, Jackson Koiven, who tied for low amateur and I think is turning professional this week. He's not in the field at the Travelers, but I think we may see him next week on the PGA Tour because he has accepted his membership that he earned. But he finished, top 5 at the Wyndham Championship last year on a sponsor exemption. Just because I happen to be a friend with one of the major sponsors of the Wyndham Championship that helped get an NIL deal to get him in the field. And it was interesting. You will not get that with this new format because there are no sponsor exemptions into that 120-player field. So that may be the only drawback, that we don't get to see maybe some of the emerging talent in the championship series. But I guarantee you, Todd, we will see those guys in the Challenger Series, and maybe it actually creates a better avenue for some of those kids that can go out there in the lower series and have a week, and maybe they can start winning golf tournaments or top 5, and the next thing you know, they're on that Challenger Series tour, they're taking membership, and they're winning golf tournaments, and they're moving right up to the big boy tour.
So when you were breaking it down a minute ago, it sounded like there was 10 at the top of the 120 that was kind of undecided as to how they were going to do that.
It could be. I mean, 90 are in, and they got to fill 30 other spots, but they say no sponsor exemptions.
So that could be semantics too, right? There could be sponsors exemptions, but they might be called something else. There could be an Aon top 10 type thing going on where they're eligible to get into that. I don't like no sponsors exemptions because of the Cinderella story, because of guys that might not get opportunities without them.
Is there a Tiger exemption?
I would have to say yes, but he doesn't take away probably from a spot in the field like it's always been, right?
Yeah,
right, he gets added. Basically, if he wants to play, he can play, and it doesn't take a spot. They haven't said that, but I know that's what the old rule was. So that he's on the competition committee and he's pretty much at the forefront of this thing, I would be really surprised if there wasn't a Tiger exemption still.
It's going to be interesting, Todd, to see how all this plays out. I think this is good progress. We are going to see a February to August schedule with a fall schedule. And I think I also heard some possibly, maybe to just throw another slap in the face of LIV, that there might be some kind of international series for the big boys, for the championship series guys, that, does a couple of international events. And that would certainly be a slap in the face of LIV Golf, because that they'll take the best venues around the world to go to. So maybe while the Challenger Series is guys are playing, these 7 or 8 or however many fall events to try and earn their way onto the Championship Series, the tour is off, playing 3, 4, 5 events in Japan or China or Australia. I mean, we know that the Australian Open is going to now be part of the PGA Tour and DP World Tour. So maybe it opens the door for, Scotty and Rory and all these big boys to go play in the Australian Open. Obviously, bad news for some of the guys that in Australia and New Zealand that traditionally get in that event. There may be less spots, but, an opportunity for the world to see these guys kind of the way LIV wanted to do it, and because there may not be a LIV in 2028.
I love that. And look, if the NFL can go play a game in London, or they can go play a game in Mexico or whatever, to spread the game. If the NBA can go play in China, there's no reason that the tour can't go over to Europe for a week or two, or they can't go to South Africa, or they can't go to Asia, or they can't go to Australia, New Zealand, that type of thing. I mean, it would make more sense if they did 2 events, because that's a lot of travel for one event, 1 week. But I'd love to see the game move around the world. I mean, the vast majority of the events stateside and in North America, maybe Mexico still, Canada has one as well. And then they get 4, 5, 6 events out there on different continents. I think that's great for the game.
Well, that's going to do it for the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters. Todd, thanks for jumping back in this week. Not sure if we're going to get Hal back next week or if you're back as regularly scheduled. We'll figure it out. And you'll just have to tune in next week to see who we have. But most likely it'll be at least me. So we'll see how that plays. And I am planning on getting down to you soon. I know we got a busy weekend this weekend, but I'll get in touch with you. Maybe the next couple weeks we'll figure it out. I'll bring my boy down there too to go play some holes with us.
Do it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, that is the Be the Right Club Today podcast presented by Makefield Putters.
Thank you for listening to Be the Right Club Today with your host, Hal Sutton and Mark Greenhalgh. Presented by Makefield Putters.
The preceding episode was a production of Moonlight Media Works in association with Walk Marketing.